Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Tuesday, here we go, October 20th, Golden Mastermind Seminars Live, Facebook Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I will go ahead and let the Facebook Live populate and then move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. Casey, look forward to connecting with you. I'll be reaching out to you in the next few days. Casey, look forward. Scott Lucas, good to connect with you. We are here Facebook Live on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. It's 90 degrees in Northern California. John Ramsey, good to see you this afternoon. Kimberly Shembari, welcome. Lauren Guadalabene McLean, welcome to Facebook Live. Scott, how are you? Scott Lucas says hello to everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I will let the people come on here about another minute, and then we'll move into the inspirational portion of today's call. John Ramsey, good to see you this afternoon. John, did you experience some breakthroughs in reading Letting Go? For those of you who are reading the book Letting Go, John Ramsey and I will both tell you that on page 11 is some of the best content in that book. It is in the chapter, The Mechanism of Letting Go. So chapter 2, Mechanism of Letting Go, page 11 is repression and suppression. Would any of you on today's call volunteer to read a few pages of that, page 11 on the book Letting Go? And then if you want to send me a message, feel free to, because it really breaks down repression and suppression. These are emotions. Repressed emotions are the emotions that we forget about. We selectively forgot because of the depth of the pain. And then suppression are the emotions we hold on to that we recreate over and over. These are the ones that create the addictions. We know that we shouldn't eat the cheesecake, but we eat it anyway. We're going to have one drink and we have 10. We have one chip and then we eat the whole bag. We have good intentions and then we avoid. So these are the feelings that we hold on to: anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, apathy, and pride. So once again, this is the book Letting Go by David Hawkins. This is a book you carry around with you for the rest of your life. This is not a book you read cover to cover. This is a book you selectively read by the page, by a chapter, and you read it over and over. And you learn to be in a state of always letting go. But this specific page will give you some great insight and some instant gratification. Page 11, the section on repression and suppression feelings. Now, today's Facebook Live is called Finding Flow. Flow means prosperity. So the word prosperity comes from the Latin term prospero. It means to flow. In the flow, ITF. So finding flow means is you find a level of ease so that you're not in a forced counterforce situation. You're forcing yourself to do something, then you meet an opposition. You run into yourself. You run into your ego, or you run into someone else who will give you conflict, or you create a story about how hard, how difficult the situation is. And then you end up prolonging the situation because of how overwhelmed you are. So when you're in a forced situation, this when you say, I'm going to make myself. How do I make myself? How do I get myself to? Well, this is the type of content that will keep you in a very forced situation and a mixed message. So when you're like, for instance, prospecting is a very arduous task for a large percent of society because of the perceived pain of selling. Because the brain associates selling with no, and the brain associates selling with rejection. So when there's an associated pain, the body's in fight or flight before it even engages. So there's no relaxation in the conversation. It's very forced. And this is why many people say, they'll say, I'll get back to you, and you don't really understand what that means because you're not paying attention. You don't hear what's meant, you only hear what's said because of how forced you've been in the situation. So as you begin to have a better understanding of what letting go really means. So those of you who have been reading the book Letting Go, those of you who have coached with me for at least a year, those of you who have a better understanding of the shiny object syndrome you have, of how an addict always wants a little more. An addict will have 3 or 4 coaches on credit that they can't even afford. An addict will have 4 or 5 purses that they never use. An addict will have 4 or 5 shotguns. An addict will have Because an addict always wants a little more. An addict will have 4 or 5 bottles of wine in the refrigerator, a multitude of situations, because one's too many and 1,000 is not enough. Because an addict wants instant gratification. Well, letting go is not an instant gratification. Letting go is a process. And the more you buy into that process of a longer breath cycle, of monitoring your word choices, then being able to find gratitude for what you do daily, forgiveness daily, and the separation of guilt and shame, because those are the 2 most important emotions that hold on to us. Now, here's guilt and here's shame. So here's repressed emotions, here's suppressed emotions. Here's shame. Shame is this. Shame are the events you did yourself. You stole money out of a cash register, you did something you shouldn't have done, or someone did something to you that's deeply, deeply embedded in the unconscious. And so it's something that you hold on to for days, weeks, months, and years. And so that's what shame is. Shame is something that's very personal. You don't want people to know about it, and you hold on to this secret. Or you repress it and don't even remember it. You've selectively blocked it out so you don't feel the real pain of the events that shape them. And then guilt is what other people in your family do to you to control you. Guilt is what society does to you. Guilt is a lot of what you see going on in today's world of guilting people into a certain set of feelings. So the more you understand how guilt is used to control you, certain religions use guilt to control you, parents use guilt to control you, society, government, a whole multitude of situations, friends and other situations. I once coached someone who in high school, a group of girls said, "We're not as pretty as you, so we don't want to talk to you." And then later in a business, she had a team of women say, "We're really glad that you're succeeding. However, we can't do what you do." So it brought up the same feelings of anxiety, guilt and fear that we tend to hold on to. Valerie Hoganson, good to see you this afternoon. Good to see a lot of you. Jennifer Spar says Letting Go is an exceptional book. She has it so far. Beth Ireland, good to see you. Michael Cole, good to see you. So the more you understand that letting go is what's going to allow you to find flow. So flow is when it becomes easy. So that's E.Z. That's EASY. You live in a level of ease. So that you can devote a lot longer hours and have a lot more energy to a craft when you're in flow. When you're resistance, then you're pushing it up against the hill. It's like, fuck, I can't believe this. This is so difficult. This is so hard. Then you become a hard-aholic. Flow is easy and effortless. You speak to someone and they buy from you. Someone doesn't buy and you let them go because there's no attachment to it. Flow has no attachment to it. It's water. It runs over a brick. It runs around a brick. It goes uphill. It becomes energy. It's harnessable. So Colleen says, "I've relied a lot on letting go the past few weeks. No anger or resentment." Congratulations, Colleen. I would expect that of you because you've been a long-time student and you also have a lot of great discipline. So this is what letting go means. It means there's no attachment. So when people are in your team or you're dating someone or you're mating someone or you have a job or any multitude of situations, you want to be able to walk away from the situation without personalizing it. So Valerie says, "I sent 70 prospective messages yesterday in a short time flow." So Valerie, on Thursday, my team sent 700 text messages. We received 3 leads back. Now that percent isn't on the charts, but I'm grateful for the 3 leads because those are survey leads. I didn't go, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." And I did 110 LinkedIn messages. No one got back with me. This is the era of lead generation. The more you understand that lead generation is a skill, the less energy you will put into what you don't have. You'll focus on what you're creative. That's what creativity is. Also, when someone leaves anything, when they leave, when you hold resentment for them, you close the hole. But when you let them go, you keep the hole open like this. So there's a portal. So that portal, it allows someone to come into that spot. It's allow energy. It's replace and allow energy so that you have teammates and leads and clients and customers, and you understand that there's an ebb and flow to that, and that you don't own a customer, you don't own a lead, you don't own a teammate, and you may be dating someone. It shows up in dating very prevalently. Now, I'm a dating coach, and I assist people to become very skilled at writing content on websites, on dating sites, questions to ask, fact-finding, rapport building, and it's imperative you learn this. If you suck at prospecting, I guarantee you will suck at dating, because what typically happens is you find someone and you make them your pretty little pet, and then you tell yourself a story that I'm not good at being alone. I'm not sure if I can be alone. So you'll sacrifice your peace and I'll go for someone that I can get. And this is also what prospecting is. People go out and they try to get these people. So Susie said, good to see you, Susie. That is Susie Gillette, my client from Kauai, Hawaii, many years ago. Her son, Gavin, is a professional surfer. I coach both of them. Susie Gillette, good to see you on today's Facebook Live. But what many people do is they go out and try to get someone. They're trying to get someone. They're getting a coach. They're going to get a prospect. They're going to get, see, there's no flexibility. Flow is flexibility. Flow is yoga. Flow is Zen. Flow is Tai Chi. Flow is easy, effortless energy. Flow is being able to hold a bat like this, and a pitch comes down the middle of the plate, and it's like this. You roll the wrist, you run the bases, put your glove on the dugout, you're ready to go in the next inning, just like you've done it a million times. So that's what flow is. It's an easy, effortless energy where there's no resistance. So if you watch me prospect, that's how I prospect. I can let people go easily and effortlessly, just like this, where there's no attachment. If someone buys from me, there's no attachment. They'll go into a waiting list. There's no pressure on me to perform, because I'm not a performer. I'm a soul having a human experience. I've long since let go of the responsibility that I do and don't have, and have a better understanding of who I'm being one day at a time. And that is flow, because that's self. As you are self, then you're not trying to be someone else. If you're recognition conscious, if you don't get recognition, you don't have an identity. But if you're not attached to recognition, and then if you achieve something in a company and you're recognized, you're still not attached to it. You're being recognized for reward without being addicted to recognition. Babies cry for it, men die for it, recognition. That's what many people do, is they strive for recognition rather than recognizing themselves. And it's accepting self. So as you accept self, that's where flow begins. Flow begins with being honest about where you are in life. So if you're 55 years old and you have $100,000 in credit card debt, you just went through a challenging relationship and you just got laid off from your job, well, that doesn't mean you become depressed. That means you accept the situation for what it is. You accept it. You forgive yourself for anything you have done that put you in that position. And then any perpetrator or violator that put their energy on you or put you in a position you had to validate, justify, or explain yourself, you also forgive them for that situation. And then you find gratitude for where you are. Gratitude meaning I'm grateful to be where I am, to have the opportunity to start over. So what it means is that the universe has knocked on your door and said, you don't belong here. These people don't like you. You don't like this situation anyway. Accept it and be your best you today. And it's that best you where you will change who and what you attract. That's where flow is found. Flow is not found out there. Flow is here. It's a space right here. It's right around you. And that space, that energy is going to come from what you transmute. So if you're transmuting a mixed message, please join me, but don't. I'm not sure if I can lead you. I haven't had any success, so I'm sure you won't be able to have any success if I'm your leader. So what I'll do is just avoid the whole situation. There is no flow in avoiding. Flow comes from consciousness. Avoiding comes from anxiety, fear, and doubt. When you're in avoiding, you're in resistance. When you're in consciousness, you're in flow. So that's in the flow. It's right here, right now, baby. That is Josh Moran. Josh, I saw the gift you sent Dylan today. That was awesome. Thank you very much. It was very cool. That is Josh Moran, who is definitely in the flow. ITF, that's the acronym, in the flow. So in the flow, I've had eras of time in my direct sales businesses where I struggled. I've also found that zone. So the flow is the zone. So in a network marketing business, a direct sales business, a coaching business, a speaking business, any business you're attracting clients and customers, you want to create a space where it's easy and effortless. They come like this. So it's like this. It's clockwise. So the energy is flowing clockwise. That is flow. When you're in resistance, it's going like this. It's going counterclockwise. So when you're like this, it's intuition. When it's like this, it's counterintuitive. So when it's like this is where extrasensory perception is. this is where you live in, like this, going count. I don't know. I don't understand. I don't remember my childhood. Everyone was a good person. Everyone was a good man, a good woman. I'm just emotionally bankrupt and have no idea how I got here. I don't know. I guess. I kinda. That's the communication style that an overwhelmed emotional addict will communicate in, living in resistance, living in a tiny little apartment, just getting by, paying interest on money that doesn't exist, living in a lot of liability debt, having no assets. That's unfortunately a large percent of society who's not skilled in free enterprise at creating commerce, transactions, goodwill, ambassadorship, delivering service, value. Now, as you start to let go of your low self-esteem and start to focus more on creating results while living the solution, then you'll be ITF, in the flow. Now, there's a higher level of flow. It's called the zone. The zone is where you elevate self into a higher level of energy. So the frequency transmutes between 400 and 500 cycles a second. So a cycle means that the energy that you're transmuting. So that means you're as an empath who's able to see pain without taking on pain and feel pain without storing it. As someone who is empathic, who is also compassionate and with passion. So as you're in this energy, so as you're in this flow state, this is where you can create synchronicity on demand. Synchronicity on command. It means that you can be sitting there and you remember a situation, and all of a sudden the person from that memory calls you. It happens like this. And you go to a restaurant and there's an hour wait, and you're waiting very patiently, and all of a sudden the hostess says, "We have a table available." As a matter of fact, it's a table that you had requested, and the people that were there already canceled. I mean, situations like this is where miracles happen. So the miracle means that there's science to it. It means there's no separation between you and the outcome. This will happen a lot more frequently as you become a master at letting go. This is why the value of letting go is very valuable, because when you're always letting go, there's no attachment. Now, this becomes very confusing to most of society because they become very attached. They're attached to their relatives. They're attached to the outcomes. And so when you're sensitive and defensive, it's because you're attached. When you have no attachment, meaning that, now this is so confusing for people because many people confuse attachment with caring. So if you're detached, it doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're not attached. It means you have compassion for mankind. You have compassion for your fellow man, but you also understand in the laws of the universe that there's no attachment. It means that there's an ebb and flow, and you can let situations go easily and effortlessly because you live in the law of plenty, in the law of supply and demand. And in the law of supply and demand, there's a great supply and there's a demand for who you are and what you're able to transmute. Because you move it into a place called the law of the few. So as you transmute feelings from 400 to 500 cycles a second, so that means it's not a frantic state. It's a very flat line type of energy that's elevated up here, and it's very flat lined. It's a very calm, cool demeanor of someone who does not get their cage rattled, and there's a detachment where that person can adapt and adjust easily and effortlessly. And so when you're like, what's going on in the world today? I mean, I can adapt and adjust to it. It's very unique and interesting, but if I have to wear a mask to go into a restaurant, I'll wear a mask. I mean, I'll do what I have to do to get by. It doesn't mean I like the mask or whatever it is, but I'm not really looking for any conflict or friction. So that allows me to adapt and adjust. And so once again, so whoever wins the election, I'll adapt and adjust to it, because just like Josh says, when you are truly humble, you can't be humiliated. So when you are not rejectable, you can't be rejected. That's what detachment is. When you're detached, you can't be rejected. So someone could say, we've had a few dates, but this just isn't working for me. Well, then you wouldn't get in the car and go, I just got gaslighted. I just got ghosted. I can't believe this. And you won't be calling that other person names because you understand that it wasn't meant to be, and you're able to easily and effortlessly let go. Eric Potato, good to see you, my brother. It was my privilege to be your coach for 2 years. So in that type of energy, it's just an easy, effortless flow. And that's the kind of energy that in a baseball game, in a doubleheader, you can go 10 for 11. And in baseball, football, you can stick your hand out and the ball lands in it and you go into the end zone. In softball, you pitch a perfect game. I mean, any multitude of situations. But this is the flow now this flow is called mastery. This is called the zone. Now, in this state of energy, I've experienced it many, many times. It's like life slows down. It's like the movie The Matrix, where you lean. So there's a flexibility that you develop in the hands-free zone. And it's called sixth gear. It's the extra gear. It's like, so there's fifth is up here, but sixth is out and clear up there. So that's where sixth gear is. And so that level of energy in David Hawkins' books, as you elevate into the 400s, 500s, and then above that is enlightenment. So in enlightenment, it's like you cease to even own possessions because you don't even care about possessions, because you know the universe will completely provide for you, because you live in such a state of prosperity and flow that situations happen to you because you've ascended to be a master. And in that state of mastery, I mean, that's a complete, there is nothing to let go of because there's nothing. That's a state of nothingness. That is pure enlightenment. Now, in that state of enlightenment, I mean, it's just absolute alignment with source. I mean, it's like, that's the term one with. And you can experience that. All of you can have flashes of that type of brilliance. You can experience it in meditation. You can experience it in an altered state. You can experience it in a flotation tank. You can experience it in a saltwater bath. I mean, you can experience it in that all, but you want to be able to experience it frequently as you walk through life. Now, that state of mastery means that you're in a constant state of resolving unresolved issues. You put energy into letting go. You don't lose your composure. Seldom do you ever lose your composure. You learn to like in your body, as you start to lean into someone, you just lean back, and because you're not consumed with being right anymore. You're able to address your perpetrators and violators, the people who put you in a position to argue with them, or the people who put you in a position that you feel stuck in a relationship. You're able to neutralize them. That is detachment. That is what pure detachment is. It means there's not an attachment to trying to be right, or an attachment to have a victory, or an attachment to close a sale. There's no force going on, because what you're living in is the hands-free zone. That is called the zone. So that is the ultimate flow, is the hands-free zone. Now, there have been athletes and actors and entertainers and writers who find that zone. They write book after book after book. They're able to sit down and write prose. They're able to, on command, create leads, and it becomes easy and effortless. And that term is also called on command. So I've taught myself that is like, it's not a performance, because when you're yourself, you're never performing. There's nothing to perform. You can walk on a stage and be yourself. It's not a performance, because performing, see, there's even that conception of perform. But when you're yourself, there's nothing to perform, because it's just you and the element, because you are in such a relaxed state. And this is why you can master this when, like in selling. Now, if you'll allow yourself to do this, you will become very, very skilled at selling. It's a very easy skill to master. Very misunderstood by the American, Canadian, Australian populace. But when you let go of all these preconceived notions and stories about selling, and master the very simple fundamentals of asking questions in a sequence, and understanding that you lead with purpose questions, and you start to understand what persuasion is, and you understand how to lead a conversation. And I mean, it really comes from some of the basic principles of the art of war. Keep your friends close and enemies closer. Really understanding that inner game of understanding your opposition, understanding your opponent, understanding the universe, understanding the laws of gravity, the laws of supply and demand, the universal laws. You start to understand these basic situations, then content comes to you. I have been a conspiracy realist for 20 plus years. Content comes to me like this. It comes to me in my inbox. It comes to me through multiple sources. Today alone, I've had over 10 videos sent to me. I'm not asking for any of them. They come, they're all fascinating. I can Google situations, find them in seconds. I mean, I can find content on anything I want. I mean, it's easy and effortless. I can sit down and write. I mean, this is where you're ambidextrous. You can use this hand, this hand. You become very flexible in your body, out of your body. You become very skilled. Your dream consciousness expands. You rest in a different level of REM state. You're in a very deep delta alpha state where it's very easy. You can rest with a lot less energy. You can rest in less time. You're not telling yourself, oh, I have to have 8 hours. If I don't get 8 hours, you change your communication style, and you're in a completely different zone called the hands-free zone. My name is Jeffery Combs. I am the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Thank you for being on today's Facebook Live. This live will be uploaded on Podomatic and my website. You can find it at goldenmastermind.com, and it will be available tomorrow morning for replay. You can also catch it right here on this Facebook Live. So have a great evening, everyone. If you haven't received a free 20-minute coaching call, feel free to reach out to me in Messenger, and I'll respond to your message in less than 24 hours. If you're brand new watching today's Facebook Live for the first time, thank you very much for being on here. I will be here tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific. That will be 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock my time, California, Monday through Thursday, and then Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. Have a great afternoon, everyone.